Welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, your go-to source for insightful discussions on leadership, job searching, and all things human resources. I'm your host, HR Kyle, and each week we dive deep into topics relevant to professionals seeking to elevate their careers and organizations. Whether you're a seasoned leader, a job seeker navigating the ever-changing landscape of employment, or an enthusiast looking to stay ahead of the curve, this is the podcast for you. Join me as we explore practical strategies, share expert insights, and engage in meaningful conversations that empower you to succeed in today's dynamic workplace. So, adjust your headphones and let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another episode of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your knowledgeable host, HR Kyle. And before I get into this episode, I just want to take a moment to recognize those listeners from all around the world. We have listeners from so many different countries other than the U.S., and I appreciate you tuning in each week to listen to the information that we provide and the things that we talk about. And I want to make sure that you know that I know you're out there and you're listening. So thank you very much. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about one of the most important topics to career success, and that is making the most of your first 90 days in a new job. Now, our employers know, or at least they should, that the first 90 days are critical to employee success. But often employees don't give this much thought, but you should. In segment 1, I'll pass along some key advice and guidance that I want you to know about that first 90 days and making it successful. In segment 2, I have a guest join me who's recently been through this challenging time of employment, this first 90 days, and she's actually done very well with that. So she'll be sharing her experiences to help you. But before we get started, we need to take a short break. So we'll be right back after this. Greetings, I'm Kyle Smith, and I'm here to offer you a speaking experience that goes beyond the ordinary. With a rich background in leadership, HR, and personal development, I bring a unique blend of expertise and passion to every presentation. Whether it's Leadership Unleashed, well-being at work, or career mastery, I delve into topics that empower individuals and organizations to reach their fullest potential. What sets me apart? Proven expertise, an engaging delivery style, and actionable insights that drive positive change. But here's the kicker. I don't just offer a one-size-fits-all approach. I customize my content to meet the specific needs and goals of your event. So let's elevate your event together. Contact me now to reserve your date and unlock the full potential of your audience and organization. Don't miss out on the opportunity to inspire greatness. Visit hrkyle.com today. Welcome back to the HR Kyle podcast. I hope you enjoyed that brief break. Now let's talk about that first 90 days on the new job. I think we all agree that starting a new job can be both exciting and challenging. The first 90 days are crucial for setting the tone of your tenure and making a positive impression. So here's a fact-based guide on how to make the most of your first 90 days at a new job. Number 1 starts with preparation. Before your first day, research the company, its culture, and the products and services it provides. Familiarize yourself with your role and responsibilities by reviewing your job description and any materials provided by the employer. Set clear goals and objectives for what you want to achieve during the first 90 days. Secondly, comes onboarding. Take advantage of any onboarding orientation programs offered by the company. Introduce yourself to colleagues and key stakeholders, and don't hesitate to ask questions to clarify expectations. Shadow experienced team members to learn about processes, systems, and company culture. Make the most of your onboarding. Number 3, learning and adaptation. Be proactive in seeking out opportunities to learn and grow. Attend training sessions, workshops, and seminars relevant to your role. And be sure to adapt to the company's communication style, workflow, and their tools. Number 4 is about building relationships. Cultivate relationships with coworkers, managers, and other stakeholders. Schedule one-on-one meetings with colleagues to get to know them professionally and personally. And be sure to participate in team activities, lunches, and social events to build rapport and camaraderie. Number 5 is all about setting expectations. Have regular check-ins with your manager to discuss progress, challenges, and expectations. Seek their feedback on your performance and be open to constructive criticism, or what we like to call corrective feedback. Clarify priorities and deadlines to ensure you're meeting expectations. Number 6, be sure to demonstrate value. Look for opportunities to contribute ideas, solutions, and improvements. Take ownership of projects and tasks, demonstrating initiative and accountability. And finally, showcase your skills and expertise through high quality work and your collaboration with others. Next, let's talk about reflecting and planning. Reflect on your accomplishments and areas for improvement at the end of this 90-day period. Evaluate whether you've met your initial goals and objectives and adjust them as needed. And then develop a plan for continued growth and development in your new role going forward. By following these steps and staying focused on your goals, you can maximize the first 90 days of your new job and set yourself up for long-term success. Just remember to stay adaptable, proactive, and open to learning, and you'll be well on your way to making a positive impact in your new role. Well, folks, that closes out segment 1, but don't go anywhere. We've got a guest joining us in segment 2 who's going to talk about her experiences successfully navigating that first 90 days of employment on a new job and how she set herself up for long-term success in her new job. But before we get to that, we do need to take a quick break. But stay tuned because we'll be right back. Hello, fellow professionals. Are you ready to revolutionize your approach to recruiting? I'm HR Kyle, and I'm thrilled to introduce you to my latest book, Recruiting is Easy, now available on Amazon and other online retailers. In today's dynamic HR landscape, it's all about strategic branding and engagement. My book unveils the secrets to crafting exceptional employee experiences, attracting top talent, and fostering strong connections. With Recruiting is Easy, you'll master the art of continuous improvement and adaptability, shaping the future of work one relationship at a time. Get your copy today and unlock the potential of HR as a strategic powerhouse. Remember, recruiting should be easy. I'm HR Kyle, and together, let's redefine recruiting. Look for Recruiting is Easy on Amazon and other book online retailers.
Are you striving to lead your team to success? Or perhaps you're navigating the complexities of the job market. Introducing The Solution, the HR Kyle YouTube channel. Your go-to source for insightful guidance and practical tips. With short 1 to 2 minute clips, our videos save you time while delivering impactful, usable strategies. From effective leadership techniques to mastering the job application process, access valuable advice in minutes. Don't miss out. Subscribe to the HR Kyle channel on YouTube today.
Welcome back to segment 2 of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your host, HR Kyle. We're going to continue this discussion around making the most of your first 90 days on a new job. And we have a guest joining us today, Amanda, who started a new job just a few months ago. She provides a wonderful example of making the most of that first 90 days and how this has set her up for long-term success on her new job. Amanda, welcome to the HR Kyle podcast.
Hi, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, it's great having you. Amanda, just to start us off today, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name's Amanda, and I have an accounting background. Before this, I used to work in healthcare for about a year as an accounts payable. And then before that, I used to work as an assistant treasurer for 8 different charter schools around the area. And that taught me a lot about accounting and, being GAAP compliant and having ethics and those kinds of things and having good morals. And that was a really big help. Yeah. And right now I'm at KDI, and it's a really good fit, and it seems to be a really good place to work right now. And I've actually been there since 5 months. Yeah, 5
Wonderful.
months. So it's been really good. It's been a pleasure.
Great. And you've certainly made the most of those few months, and that's really put us in a good position now to have a great conversation around this topic. So, can you share with us some of the key challenges you faced during your first 90 days on your job and how you overcame them?
Yeah, so in my first couple of days, you know, working at this new job, I was dealing with a really difficult manager, and she had overseen like the entire department, and it was really hard to work with her because she made it very clear, 2.5 weeks into my job that she did not think that I belonged. And she made it very clear that she did not want me there. And it was really hard to try and manage that and also learn the basics and just my job and how to work with different people and different colleagues and how to manage their, emotions and what they're doing. So it was really difficult because I'd never dealt with something like that such like early at a job, and it really kind of threw me for a loop. So what I ended up doing is I really ended up hunkering down and working just to perfect what I was doing and make sure that I was doing everything correctly and having a strong foundation of my job so that way if anything came into question, I could stand firm on what I was doing and saying, no, I am right because I know how to do my job correctly. And I think that really worked out for me because now I have uh, an expertise in what I'm doing that I'm able to take on more work and take on and manage more things. So I can now grow within the company more, which is really wonderful because you should want to do that at some point.
Wonderful story. And again, yours is a little atypical of that first 90 days, but I think it demonstrates a key facet and something that sets you up not only for success early, but long term. And that is having a confidence in your knowledge, skills, and ability to do your job. Would you see that as true?
Yeah, definitely. You have to be able to do that. Yeah.
Amanda, what strategies did you employ just to quickly integrate into the company culture and start to build those strong relationships with your colleagues?
Yeah. So, at a previous company that I'd worked with, they utilized what's called the Berkman method for a lot of interpersonal like relationships within the company. And so when I was at the company, I took a good advantage of it, and it taught me how to deal with different personality types. And I like dealing with different relationships. And I'm the kind of person that I'm able to like pick up a lot on, how someone's personality is and how it can interwork with another person's personality. So what I ended up doing is, I really looked at who the people are that I'm interacting with and if there were little quirks that you could pick up on and then try and learn more about the person and try and build the relationship that way. So then that way you are just kind of thrown into, what everyone else is working on. And you can just expedite making yourself known in the company as a hard worker and somebody who is willing to help and do all those other things that we strive for in a great company culture because you want it to be like a big, not family, because you have your own family, but you want it to be an area that you can rely on people. I feel like a lot of times now we don't have a good system that we can just rely on of people that we can just call and just, you can be like, yes, I know you're going to do your job correctly. So that's a really good thing to try and find and mesh into a good company culture. And that's what I tried to do.
Wonderful points there, and I commend you because the biggest thing that I saw with you is you're taking your time to understand who people were and where they fit in, and as you said, understanding better their work styles and how they relate to others, and you made that investment. You took your time with that, and you're right. It's paid dividends for you in now having some good, strong relationships in a what would be considered a relatively short period of time on a new job.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to learn how to work with other people because if you continue and the funniest thing that you can think of is like, taking a train. The thing that I think of is there's an episode of Family Guy where Peter's a train and he's trying to like ram into the tunnel. And you can try and do that with forcing your personality on someone and forcing how you work. And it doesn't always work that way because somebody can be complete opposite of you and you can just get into a fight every time you talk to them and you could hate working with them. But if you just take the couple moments to be like, okay, so I work this way. How do you work? And maybe we can find a happy medium. Then that would just make every other, it would make it so much easier and people would get a lot more, get a lot of along better than just, continually fighting. Because what you hate to hear is like when you're going to a company, especially like a new company, and you hear about how like, oh, well, I didn't like working with so and so person because they were just so hard to work with. And it's like, well, did you try and take some time to get to know the person instead of just jumping to conclusions about, you know, because they didn't like your work style? Like you really have to take that time to get a good relationship built.
Clearly that investment that you've made has paid dividends for you. And for me, being close enough to it to watch, it's been wonderful to see. I mean, like I say, that's why you're on here today. I thought you really provided a textbook example of how to really make the most of that 90 days and set yourself up. And like you say, you're 5 months in now, and I just see that trajectory continuing to go upwards for you and your career and your development. So again, great stories and great examples. And it
Thank
really
you.
leads well, Amanda, into my next question. We both agree that setting clear goals is critical for success in any new role. And you and I've talked about that offline before. How did you go about defining your goals for the first 90 days? And what tactics did you use to stay focused and motivated with them?
So I think definitely when you're setting your goals, you want to think of when I first started my career, something like the company that I'd worked for, they had done goals in three separate buckets, right? So you had a company goal, you had a personal goal, and then you had like a team goal, right? So, or like a value goal. So what you would do is you would say like, okay, so for this year, these are the things that I want to work on. And you really need to think, think about, have forward thinking. So when I first started at KDI, I made those buckets and, for my company goal, I wanted to learn as much as I could because I did not want to feel like I was starting a job and I knew nothing, right? So a little bit more backstory. When I first started my position, my manager, she fell, you know, before Christmas and she wasn't able to come and train with me. So that caused a lot of friction to begin with. And it was really hard because training over Zoom is not always a good way to train and a good way to learn, but we managed and it worked out. But I wanted to come in and learn as much as I could because it was a big burden for her because working remote, although it works, you have to have a very functional setup to make it work. And not everyone has the ability to do that and have that at the ready. So I wanted to come in and take things off of her plate. And I've now started to learn how to do that. And those are the kinds of goals that you have so that way you can sustain employment at a company. Because what you see is after a couple of years, after about 5, you get the 5-year itch and you want to start moving on because you've already mastered everything at the company. You have to set some long-term goals before you set your short-term ones because then you have something to work towards. It's not anything that you're going to hit right away, right? Because otherwise, you're not going to, then you're just going to burn yourself out if you have all these short-term goals. But that was a good thing. And I also wanted to make sure that I was able to sustain because as you and I talked about offline, like the potential for you to grow is always there. You have that potential everywhere. You just can't limit yourself.
Well, and I think the other key takeaway, and especially from the story you just shared, is being flexible around that. As you said, starting with those long-term goals, allowing that to help you develop short-term goals, but also realizing that the situation you're in is fluid and you may have to flex those short-term goals, change them, rearrange them. And again, as your story bears out, you did a really wonderful job doing that.
Yeah, you have to be able to work with other people because, some people are on a different path than you, right? So there's some people that even in our company, and this is in real life, you see it all the time. You have a mixture of different generations of the workplace. You have a lot of boomers who are trying to phase themselves out. You have a lot of Gen X who are trying to, figure out where they fit in to take those roles. And you have to be able to work and be fluid with where they're at on their paths to see where you're at. Everything's a highway, right? The life is a highway and you're just trying to zipper merge with other people. Because if you don't, then you're just going to get into accidents. And that just causes friction unneeded anywhere. And you don't want to have stress and friction at work because then you end up taking it home. And I don't know about you, but I don't like coming home angry because I dealing with feeling at work. It's not good for anybody.
Very true. Very true and great points. So, Amanda, reflecting on your experience, what advice would you give to someone who is about to embark on their own journey in a new job? And are there any key lessons or insights you gained that you believe would be helpful for others?
Yeah, I would definitely say relationships matter. The way that you talk to people and having respect for people matters. You have to have respect for not only yourself and your boundaries. Yes, 100,000%. Yes. But you also have to have respect for other people's boundaries and other people's little quirks and behaviors that they do because not everyone's the same as you. And I think the other thing is that we have gotten to a point in society which it works out for some, it works out for others, but we've gotten to a point where you go to a company and you go to a job and you don't care because you know your time is limited. Whether it be because your company's notorious for laying people off, or your company already has terrible turnover because people suck. But you go to a company and you're like, I don't care. I just get a paycheck. I work here. Yeah, everybody's allowed to have that mentality, but you still need to have some passion of what you're doing. And it doesn't need to be like huge passion. You're drinking the Kool-Aid talking about it. No, you just need to be like, yes, this is my job. I have some respect for the job that I do. And if you don't, find another one because you being a sourpuss every day and putting that onto somebody else, that's just burning bridges and making relationships not good. So you just treat others the way you'd want to be treated. And hopefully that all works out. And communication's a huge, huge thing. And if you ever think that you might have offended somebody, just ask. Say, hey, I did this. Did I offend you? And you know what? If they're an honest person, which I hope most people are, they'd say yes or no. And then if they're a liar, they're a liar. You don't need to talk to them.
Wonderful points. And Amanda, something else that you hit on, and I talk about it in segment one of this episode as well, is that, and I think this gets lost a lot of times when people talk about making this 90-day plan, and you've hit on it a few times, and I don't want our audience to miss it. Building your 90-day plan around the environment you're going into and the people that you're working with. So you can't be so short-sighted to not know that your plan still has to integrate with the organization. It has to integrate with your teammates and all those people around you. And you've got to be willing to make some changes and adjust that so that, obviously your wants and needs are being met, but just as importantly, the wants and needs of the organization and people around you are being met as well.
Yeah, and I think it really, because you don't go into a job because I've said this at most jobs that I've gone to, whether part-time, mostly retail, those kinds of jobs, you're like, oh, I'm not going in to make friends. Yeah, you're not going in to make friends, but you're also not going in to terrorize people and what they're doing in their life. Like, you still have to be mindful of what they're doing. And although you don't make friends, you're with those people. If you're working a full-time job, you're with those people 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. That's 40 hours. That's so much time. You and I have talked offline about having the personal time, and you have to make those commitments to have the time outside of your work, right? So you're spending a lot of time with those people. So you have to have that respect of what they're doing and have that to be able to meld with them the way that you need to. Because otherwise, you're not being nice in my eyes.
Amen to all that. And great advice provided today around this critical topic of making the most of the first 90 days. And folks, I think you can see there's clearly a right way to go about this and unfortunately a wrong way. But Amanda, I want to thank you for joining me and sharing your experience with this audience. Believe me, it's very much appreciated.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Kyle. It was so much fun to be on. I'm
Well, we're
glad
gonna
I
have to.
did it.
Oh, I'm
I'm
glad
glad
you
you're
did
happy.
too. We'll have to have you back on again sometime.
Oh, perfect.
Well, folks, thank you as well for joining us for this episode of the HR Kyle podcast. And as I say each week, and I mean it just as much, I really do appreciate it. And remember, too, your support is greatly appreciated. So I hope you'll take the time to like and follow the HR Kyle podcast. Otherwise, until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off saying, stay focused, stay grounded, and stay tuned. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the HR Kyle podcast. We hope you found our discussion valuable and filled with insights that you can apply in your professional journey. Whether you're a business leader aiming to foster a thriving workplace or a job seeker looking to carve out your own path, remember that HR Kyle is the compass that can guide you towards success. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. We're committed to being your trusted source for HR wisdom, and we look forward to having you back with us for our next episode. Remember, in the world of HR and professional growth, there's always room for progress. Be sure to visit our website at hrkyle.com. That's hrkyle.com to learn more about how we can help you meet your business and professional goals. So until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off. Stay motivated, stay informed, and keep reaching for those career goals. Music provided by bensound.com. That's bensound.com.